Welcome to Navigating FYE 1220. This video will go over general advice for navigating Folio and more specific advice for navigating FYE 1220. Let's start with the general Folio advice. One of the first things you'll want to do when you log into Folio is make sure that the computer you're using supports all of Folio's functions. Some computers may have pop-up blockers or may not have the latest software additions necessary for Folio to run, so it's important that you run a system check before using Folio. If you ever switch computers or have an issue with Folio, run a system check before you contact somebody about the issues you're having. To run a system check, what you're going to do is go to the upper right-hand corner and just click System Check. What Folio will do is it will simply go through and make sure that your computer is compatible with all of the Folio functions that occur. What you'll see is some green check marks if your computer passes the system checks. If you were to see a red X by anything, that's when you would want to take some action and either update some software or call the IT help desk for some assistance. So I've shown you how to run a system check. Now I'm going to give you 3 tips that will make working in an online learning system a little easier for you as a user. Generally, updating your profile, setting up notifications, and forwarding email are good ideas in an online learning system. Let's start by setting up your profile. Click the drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner, then click the profile link. One of the first things you'll want to do when you set up your profile is add a profile picture. This simply makes it easier for your instructors to put a face to a name when reviewing your work in Folio. To do that, click Change Picture, click Upload, and then click the picture that you want to use. You'll see the file name appear. Once you do, you just want to click Add, and then you'll see your picture appear down here. One of the other things you'll want to do when you're editing your profile is just add your Georgia Southern email address down to the email button. It just gives that for your instructor's reference. Once you're done doing all of that, you just want to click Save, and you'll know that it worked because up here in the upper right-hand corner again, now your picture appears. One of the next things you want to do just to make it easier for you to navigate Folio and use the learning system is go up to and set up some notifications. Notifications simply notify you when important things happen or are about to happen in your class. By default, Folio sends no notifications, but if you would like notifications sent, for example, maybe you'd like to be notified 2 days before something is due or when a new grade item is available, you can change that in the notifications area. Once you're in notifications, you can select how you want to be notified and what you want to be notified about by clicking the checkboxes under the instant notifications section. You can see here that you can either be notified by email or by text message, although it's important to note that until you register your cell phone, which you can do by clicking the Register Your Mobile link, you won't be able to check the SMS option. So be sure to stay on top of what's going on in your Folio course by changing your notification settings. One of the last tips I have for you when working in an online learning environment is to forward your email in that online learning environment to the email account you use most frequently. By default, Folio saves messages into the messages section of Folio. But if you want all of your Folio emails sent to your GSU email, you can do so fairly easily. Just go to the drop-down menu besides your name, click Account Settings, click the Email tab, and then click the checkbox at the very bottom of the page under Forwarding Options. It just sends all of your Folio emails to whatever email address you put in the email address text box. You can save and close, and then you'll be good to go. So far we've learned general information about how to use Folio, but now we're going to move away from general Folio recommendations and talk about how FYE 1220 is set up in Folio. Each of your courses in Folio will be set up differently, so it's pretty important to figure out how each instructor expects you to navigate their course. In FYE 1220, it's particularly important to know how to access course content, submit a Dropbox item, take quizzes, and check your course grades. So I'm just going to go back to my Folio and I'm going to click the FYE 1220 class that I would like to go into. As you can see when you log into your FYE 1220 course, there are 3 course folders. The Start Here folder contains your FYE 1220 syllabus, this video, and information on using Google Apps. The Seminar component folder contains modules for the seminar portion of the FYE 1220, which is worth 75% of your final grade. On the same note, the Extended Orientation component folder contains modules relevant to the Extended Orientation portion of the course, which is worth 25% of your final grade. Let's go into the Extended Orientation folder and learn more about navigating the modules in FYE 1220. Regardless of what modules your instructor asks you to complete in his or her course, each module in FYE 1220 will have an overview page that looks like this. And it will contain the purpose of the module, which you can find here, the learning outcomes of the module, which you can find here, a brief introduction, which you can read here, and then steps to complete the module, which you can see here. It's important to note that any links on the overview pages in FYE 1220 will open in a new tab. For example, if I click this Working Backwards to Solve Problems link, it will open up a new tab and it will show me the video. One of the reasons FYE 1220 is set up this way is so you can work through the steps to complete the module, but then easily return to the overview page once you've completed a step. So once I'm done watching this video, all I have to do is X out of this tab, and I'm right back to the overview page to go on to this next step. It's also worth noting that completing a module on FYE 1220 is not the same as completing an assessment. Completing a module simply means you've reviewed the content necessary to complete a related Dropbox or quiz, which brings me to the next tutorial, how to complete assessments in FYE 1220. In FYE 1220, you will more than likely be asked to complete either a Dropbox or a quiz to assess how well you retain the content presented in modules. You can find Dropboxes and quizzes by going to the Assessment tab. To complete a Dropbox, click the Dropbox link, then find the assignment your instructor wants you to complete and click it. Most of the instructions in FYE 1220 Dropboxes will contain links back to the content you're being assessed on, which will also load in a new tab. This particular Dropbox also includes a rubric, which I can see when I scroll down. If your instructor includes a rubric in your Dropbox, take the time to grade your assignment using the rubric before submitting. It just ensures that you've met all of the criteria that your instructor is expecting. Finally, to submit a file, click Add a File. Find the file that you would like on your computer. Click Open, and again it will appear right underneath Upload, and then just click Add. You'll see it right underneath that Add a File now. If you want to add comments to your instructor, you can just double click on the comments text box, type your comments in the box, and then they will appear. Once you're ready to submit, simply click Submit. Once you've submitted, you'll see that your file submission is successful in the file upload results. When you scroll down, you'll also see that an email confirmation was sent to your Folio email. Let's move on to how to complete a quiz in Folio. You can find quizzes underneath the Assessment tab, just like you found your Dropbox. Click the quizzes link, and then find the quiz that you would like to take. Before taking the quiz, Folio will give you some information about the quiz. Pay attention to the quiz period, which tells you when the quiz will stop being available to take, the time allowed, which tells you how much time you have to take the quiz once you click the Start button, and the attempts, which tells you how many times you can take the quiz. Once you're ready, click the Start Quiz button and take the quiz. The last thing I want to talk to you about is your grades. If your instructor posts grades in Folio, you can find them under the Grades tab. As you can see, there are several columns under grade items, including points, weight achieved, grade, and assessment. If your instructor is using a point system to calculate your final grade, you won't see anything under the weights achieved and grade columns. However, most instructors in FYE 1220 use a weighted system to calculate your final grade. A weighted system simply means this: each assignment is graded out of 100 points, but will only count a certain percentage towards your final grade. Let's look at the evaluating information quiz, for example. It's graded out of 100 points, just like all of the assessments are, but it only counts as 6% of your overall grade. So, if I were to make a 50 out of 100 points, I would see 50 out of 100 here under the points column. But I'd receive 3 out of 6 under the weight achieved column. And my grade would be 50%. In other words, I earned 50 out of the possible 100 points and 50% of the weight achieved. If your instructor used a rubric or made some comments on your assessment, both would appear under the assessments column in the form of a text or in the form of a link for you to click. So be sure to look at it so you can make some adjustments before your next assignment is due. In summary, I hope the information in this video provided you with helpful tips to navigate Folio. However, it's important to remember that if you're having a difficult time understanding how to navigate a particular Folio course, your best resource is your instructor. If you need further help navigating Folio, set up a time to go by his or her office and get some help. With that said, I hope you have a great semester.